Welcome to the Hot Seat, powered by Affordable Staff, David Judge, and here we are at Season 2, Episode 15 of the Hot Seat. And as of recording or showing this episode, there are only 4 episodes left in the season, and it's been an amazing journey. So we release a new episode every second Tuesday, and we talk to industry influencers that have worked hands-on in the real estate industry, and we find out where they see current and future trends and what you can do about it to support and grow your business. Now, in today's interview, we're fortunate enough to be interviewing Brad Filliponi, who is one of the co-founders behind a company called boxbrownie.com. So if you haven't heard of it before, what is boxbrownie.com? From the website, it says, this is quoted from their website, professional, high-quality photo editing, virtual staging, floor plan redraws, renders, and virtual renovation at unbeatable prices. Guys, that's a tongue twister. Now, Brad's business is used by clients in 75 countries as of recording this episode, and they are considered to be one of the market leaders in the industry for photography. So in our interview, we caught up with Brad in a room that backed onto a beach that had about a dozen kids playing in the background in the sand, which made for an interesting yet awesome interview. And if you're actually just listening to this, you'll be able to hear them playing the whole time. Okay, so some of the highlights that we discussed during the interview include the challenge of marketing for real estate agents and how Australians set the standard for the rest of the world when it comes to marketing, the initial growth of boxbrownie.com through an editorial in Inman, and how that has flowed onto Brad and others within boxbrownie.com attending 15 conferences a month across Australia, USA, Chile, Brazil, UK, France, and other countries, new software and innovations and how they're going to disrupt the industry, and whether or not it will mean that you need to still have face-to-face relationships, and what is HDR in photography, how you can use it to create million-dollar images, and how smartphones will be the new standard in real estate photography. I have to say that Brad goes at a million miles an hour, as do all the guys at boxbrownie.com if you follow them on Facebook, and it's really good to interview a genuine person that is smashing it in business, is well-traveled globally, and to take those gained insights and share this real-world advice with our listeners in a casual interview on the beach. Anyway, let's listen to the episode and roll it. Hello, David here from the Hot Seat, powered by Affordable Staff, and I have
Heather Judge.
And we have
Brad Filliponi.
Brad, and where are you from?
Boxbrownie.com.
Excellent, fantastic. And I think there are a couple of other names as well you mentioned you had.
Yeah, people call us Brownie Box or, where's the Brownies?
That's right, that's a whole different company that Brad's been running. So thank you today, Brad, for coming and having a chat with us. So we thought we'd have a talk to you about your experience within the industry, where you see it now, where you see it going in the future, and all that sort of stuff. How does that sound?
Sounds great, thank you.
Excellent. So tell us a little bit about how you got into the industry.
I actually did a TAFE course when I finished school under photography. And then I finished that course and got offered a job in real estate, actually, selling all the houses pretty much behind us on the beachfront homes, also all the deep waterfront in Minyama, also Mooloolaba. So from an early age, I really knew what the industry needed. Obviously, they need things back yesterday. And I really had a good idea of what, marketing was and how to, sell and market a prestige home, which is what Boxbrownie do quite well.
Okay, awesome. Fantastic. And out of interest, we are on the beach. You can sort of see in the background a horde of children just arrived as we push to record. So there will be the background noise of kids screaming and having fun, as well as a bit of beach. So yeah. So you were going and taking photography, did you say, for prestige properties and selling prestige properties?
Yeah, look, I was working in an office. Most things we sold were all around $1 million up to $6 million. Dealt with those sort of clients, and working in the industry, you really realise the nuts and bolts and how it all works. As an outsider, you may think a real estate agent's job's quite easy, but when you're actually in there day to day doing what they do, it's actually a bit different than most people would think. It's not all coffee and scones, is it?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And why Box Brownie? What got you into the concept of the business?
I love that. So the name Box Brownie is actually the nickname for the first camera. Made out first camera you could buy off the shelf. I call it a Brownie camera.
Yes.
Early days, I thought of this business for many years before I started it. Yes. A real estate photographer. I actually automated the job without me even realizing it, and all my heartaches and battles is literally what Box Brownie is today. And I suppose there came a time in my life where I needed to outsource my photos. I used to, take up to 9 photo shoots a day.
Okay.
And then I used to edit all the photos that night. for my clients the next day because they expected things back the next day. They didn't want to wait. That was the industry standard. And there just came a time in my career where I actually couldn't edit all the photos continuously every day.
Yes.
Went to outsource my photos and found the battle. And it wasn't easy. I tried, so many outsourcing companies. Just had
Didn't work.
just didn't work.
How long ago are we talking about again?
Oh, I started Box Brand roughly about 6.5 years ago.
Okay, wow.
I've got like what are called wireframes. I didn't realise they were back on pencil and pad drawings back in my house still, which is quite remarkable. And everything you see today was pretty much my drawings back then. It's quite remarkable.
Wow,
Awesome.
fantastic. So you travel quite extensively yourself and Peter. What's Peter's role in the business?
Peter is our BDM.
Yes.
He's our everything really.
You see him everywhere too.
Peter's great. He's everywhere. Between him, myself, and Mel, my business partner, we did roughly, I think it was about 15 conferences a month last year.
Wow.
And there's mainly 3 of us traveling those, and they were mainly all in the US to give you an idea.
Because the US is a much bigger market for you guys, isn't it now?
Correct. Yeah. There's roughly, they say on paper, close to 2 million, real estate agents over there, or realtors they may call them. Over here, there's close to 50,000. So it's really a numbers game. But look, it all happened by accident, to be honest.
So how long ago did you get to? So obviously you started off here on the beautiful Sunshine Coast.
Yes.
And then you expanded out throughout Australia. And then when did you move to the American space?
It was really lucky, actually. This company called Inman.com did an editorial on us. And we're like, who's Inman? We better research these people. And it turns out they're
one of the most well-known.
So we were approached by them. We got speaking to the writer. He's like, I'm not too sure if you guys know about us, but there's a bit of a hype about it over you. They did an editorial on our virtual staging, which we are the market leaders at, which I'm quite proud to say. Took us a while to get it right. That's the digital furniture into those vacant rooms, and that's really what went viral. Prior to us being there was other companies, but they just didn't do it right. They more use Photoshop and a bit of AI, some of the companies, but they just didn't look lifelike. And marketing's all about showing something, what it's going to look like in real life. So I think that's what we do so well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So out of interest, because I saw on Facebook, I saw you post a couple of pics. You're looking at a couple of Ferraris and exotic European cars.
There's been a few of those over the years.
If you were to take all the flights that all of you and the other guys have done, would you be looking at a Ferrari?
Looking at a garage full of Ferraris.
Definitely. Yep, 100%.
Yeah, so
maybe one day.
Yeah, well, that's it. But I guess, like for us, like we attend a lot of conferences, and we like the hot seat will go to the place of wherever the person is. So that's meant that we've flown overseas, we've flown to WA, like wherever we have to go, and that's the authentic thing about it. And I don't know if we could say that we would be buying a Ferrari with it yet.
No, I don't.
Definitely not a Hyundai.
maybe we'll do it at the dealership when I buy mine. How does that sound?
Yeah, that's right. That's I can do 2 for the price of 1. So moving into the industry, and I think maybe if we have a look at Australia and maybe with some stuff from the overseas market as well that you can relate to, what do you see as being the biggest challenge in the industry at the moment?
I think just good marketing. We still travel a lot. I must say, I'm very proud to say Australia does the best marketing in the world. That's just that's coming from me, but I could be biased. But look, we've travelled to the UK, Brazil, Chile, America. It goes on.
France, because we went to France just recently.
We went to France recently as well. We had a guest speaking spot there, I believe. But we just travel to conferences. We're lucky to have a global brand. Everybody lives underneath a roof, so we can help people market that. So I just think Australians, look, we're really setting the standard. We're 360. Like things like Matterport, that's a standard thing here. Floor plans are standard. Good copywriting standard. Good photos with blue skies standard. Like you'd be surprised. Even what you see behind us. I know on this video, behind me actually looks like a white haze.
Yes.
And that's how most of the marketing looks like overseas, to be honest.
Okay.
You might have a house on the beach like we are here. You can't see it. In Australia, you can see that beautiful view. It's called HDR, or bracketed photography. A lot of people don't do it globally. So that's where we're going to come in, stand our foot on the ground and show that this is standard, like blue sky standard. Like if you can see it, it should be standard. And
Yes.
yeah, I'd love to give you some
seen the
before and
photos.
after to throw into this to show what
Yeah,
the
let's do
difference
that.
what the
Yeah,
difference
yeah,
that
we
does
should.
make.
Yeah, we'll make sure we show that. So that's overseas. What about in Australia? What could you see the main challenge in Australia for agents being at the moment?
I think with Australians, don't get lazy, don't get stuck in your ways. Automation's coming,
Yes.
whether you like it or not.
Yes.
I just think a lot of Australian agents, they get very comfortable. That's all I really comment. Look, you've got to get comfortable with change.
Yes.
You've got to try new software out there. There's lots out. There's so much coming out.
Yes.
Check what's happening. I think go to conferences, learn as much as you can. Just be aware
But go with the mindset of, hey, I'm going to learn something and I'm going to implement it back in my business, not just go listen to inspirational talks and move on. Have that mindset of, hey, I'm going to do it and I'm going to do it tomorrow.
100%, and I think, once again, it might sound a bit cliche, but go visit those vendors at those conferences. You know why? Because they're spending thousands to get there, even traveling halfway around the world to get there. And there's a good chance they got something that's going to make you money, and you don't even realise it until you talk to them. Because we do a lot of conferences, and we watch people that don't come anywhere near the tables a lot, and you think it's really your loss.
Yeah. So moving on from that, then, what do you see as being the biggest change or disruptor coming? Do you think it's automation and artificial intelligence, or do you think there's something else?
Oh, it's really hard. I think those two are definitely coming. Depends how quick that journey is here.
Yes.
There's just so much software out there, I think.
Particularly in the US, I can see from everything I'm hearing, there's a lot of new innovation in the US that hasn't hit Australia yet. Is that correct? I mean, you guys are seeing it face.
Yes and no. I think they just do real estate differently over there. A lot of products are global, then a lot aren't. They're more per states over there in the US. So it's just good to look around and shop around.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. And I think it's really interesting because I see things like automation and us, in a outsourcing business. And we've had a few people come to us and say, "Are you worried about automation and what it's going to do?" But I think just like real estate agents and property managers, the human element is so important.
Yes.
Yeah.
And outsourcing, it's people doing
only gets you so far, I think,
right.
isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So for us, I can see huge opportunities in outsourcing for automation and for artificial intelligence to be able to improve what the guys are doing, so they can focus more on supporting admin tasks that you really need a brain.
And I think automation is exactly what you do, and that's outsourcing. Outsourcing all the stuff that should be automated, get that happening, and I suppose those important face-to-face tasks is what you should be doing every day.
Yes.
Anything you can outsource is always a great idea because it saves you time to do what makes you money more, and that's usually if you're in real estate, talking face-to-face with people and just getting on your phone.
Building those relationships.
100%.
Yes.
that relationship.
So from your travels around the world, what would you say right now would be one of the best ways for somebody to differentiate themselves in the industry?
Really depends what region you're in.
Yeah, I was going to say, where in Australia, in the US?
Let's say in Australia.
Let's say in Australia, I think just do all the simple things right. Make sure you do your follow-ups. Look, I think Australia's really onto it. Follow the Australian pyramid, I guess you say, and look, everyone's doing it right. But I'd say if you're in America, you really want this exterior detail present in your shots. To give you an idea, I was in Palm Springs last year at a conference called Nagelret. Would you like to know what Nagelret means?
Yeah, definitely. I'm not sure. Should I?
Okay. So I went to Palm Springs.
Really
Nagelret means National Gay and Lesbian Association of Realtors, believe it or not.
Actually, I did see that on Facebook somewhere.
It was great. Had a good time, good party. But I spoke to one of the gentlemen there and I said, look, I've seen the outside shots of this property. I've seen the beautiful shots inside. We're looking at this through his window. I said, why is the window like a bright haze behind me? Once again, talking about that. I said, isn't there beautiful mountains out here? He's like, yes, there is. Why can't you see them? And he's like, my photographer said that can't be done. The lighting wasn't right. I said, to be honest, your photographer's lying.
Yes.
And it can be done. He just hasn't shot and edited it correctly. And that mountain, that's that $1 million, $2 million, $3 million view. And they're just like this ocean here. It's not present, and that needs to be seen. So that happens in both Chile, Brazil, UK, everywhere I've been, that's been an issue. So I think that itself, And, at Box Brownie, it only costs $1.60 or $2 Australian per image to get that back if it's shot right. So I just think...
A $3 million property.
It comes back to doing the simple things right.
Yeah. And did you call it HDR?
It's called HDR, or bracketed photography.
So what does that mean?
It pretty much means that we take different exposed photos, dark to light, and we kind of merge them all together.
Okay.
And then what we do is we select around the image and we rub out and we add in things we need from the other photos. And that's how we get that beautiful, consistent image as the eye sees.
Having the depth,
Yeah. So
I notice smartphones, you see they have an HDR mode. Does that do the same thing or not really?
Not quite. It's almost like an automatic HDR setting. Yes, it does do it remotely, but you couldn't shoot a room with it. You need a tripod and you need a lot more data info for that to happen. One day you will. I promise it'll be just... I think smartphones in the next few years, everyone will be using those almost to shoot property.
Yeah.
Do a lot of people use smartphones already to shoot property?
We've done blogs and we have them all online. I think I've done we did a commercial shoot here in Kunda Park, which is about 15 minutes drive. It was a $4.2 million commercial property. We shot it on my smartphone with a wide angle lens attachment, which I can recommend to all the listeners out there. And the results were fantastic. You would not be
We'll have to get the
complaining.
model off you and we'll add it into the notes.
That's
great.
Yeah, we've got some great blogs on HDR as well if anyone's interested.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So do you have any other special advice you give real estate agents and people in the property management industry right now?
I think just be awake. I think, know there is a tsunami coming, whether you know it or not.
Yes.
And I'm going to call that a tech tsunami because that's really what's happening. Gone are the days where the old real estate agent drove a client around in his car and got all the old photos out of the property. The buyer knows just as much now on their phone than anything else. So I just think, just be aware there's lots of cool tech and software out there to make your life easier. And if you're not using it, I bet your competitor is.
Yeah.
And there was it's really interesting. We're talking to Hallie and Brennan Hill. So they have a couple of Ray-White agencies. Okay. We're talking to them last week. By the time you see this, the episode's already out. And we asked them how long is the maximum amount of time if you have an inquiry or if you have a landlord contact you before you respond to them. They said instantaneous.
Yeah.
But with that in mind, they have a maximum 4 hour time limit. And I started talking to them about it and I said, what does that mean? Does that mean that someone has to call them within 4 hours? It's not just that. It's some sort of response. And they're using tech in their business right now to be able to respond to a person. So if there's a tenant that's having an issue at 10 o'clock at night with a hot water system, there's a mechanism that they can use that can trigger a response from somebody depending on the level of importance, and they have that going through their entire business. For the landlords, sales
inquiries in the morning.
Yeah.
And the funny thing for them
but
as well,
also peace of mind for the client, surely.
and the funny thing for them as well is you talk about where you get business from. They spoke about realestate.com.au, etc. Brennan was saying he gets a lot of his leads from Instagram.
Yeah, right.
So he actually has people that follow him. So he'll put his Instagram account out there on his Ray-White platform that he has, and people can see it. And they can see what he's doing, and they're contacting him because they say we feel like we have an affinity towards you because we see that you walk your dogs in the afternoon, we see that you go to the gym every morning, we see that you're doing
something
this
in common, I guess, isn't it? And I think it's almost like same thing. People see me in the videos and they see me in America, and they're like, oh, they feel like they already know you straight away.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, I'm pretty much like the videos.
Yeah, and I think if anything, it's creating that lifestyle. And when you say lifestyle, that doesn't mean that you're creating a fake persona of yourself.
You're going to be genuine.
Yeah, and being that person, like first time I met you and to the person I met now, you're exactly the same. This is all congruency. Yeah. So I think if you
it goes back to saying about real estate's a relationships game. So people are following you. They're like, hey, he's just like me. He's a real person, and that's what people want to see.
Oh my God, there's normal people out there.
Yeah, he's as crazy as me.
That's right. So I think that's super important as well. If you're in the business, you need to understand that it's not a 24/7, but it is a lifestyle that you're engaging in.
I agree.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, so we're going to take a quick break and then we're going to come back and ask you the 60-second hot seat questions.
Look out.
And we'll see, we've only ever had one person crying, and that was Damien.
Sorry, Damien.
And so we'll take a quick break and we'll be back in a moment. Welcome back to the Hot Seat powered by Affordable Staff. We have Ebba here and Brad. Welcome back again, Brad.
Thank you.
We'll just turn up the lights and turn up the heat, and then we're going to go through now and ask you the hot seat. I don't know. I didn't mean to rhyme that. So, yeah, that's right. It's one of my cool dad jokes. So, we're going to go through, and I'm going to ask you each one of these questions, and just say the first thing that comes into your mind. If you can't think of an answer, then say pass. And then we'll come back to it over and over. And we'll skip it. Sounds good?
We'll make you cry too.
Sounds great.
Okay, let's go. Your number one bucket list item.
Ooh. I'm gonna say Machu Picchu.
Machu Picchu.
What's that? Sorry.
Isn't that? I think that's how you pronounce it. It's a place in Peru, like hiking. Hiking and photos.
Strangest thing you've ever eaten.
That I'm not too adventurous when it comes to food, but I did eat ox tongue when I was in Japan.
Yep.
It was pretty much raw in front of like Japanese CEOs. I swallowed it down, but I spewed it up that night. And he was patting me on the back, going, "You're going to be okay, Brad. You're going to be okay." So no, he was a great guy. Lots of laughs.
I don't like the whole ox tongue thing, but raw.
Yeah,
Let's take it to the next level.
You had to say, you couldn't say no.
No, of course not.
Chicken's feet.
Of course not.
I mean, I've spoken about it a few times. It's disgusting. Really disgusting.
Still crunchy.
Some people love it though.
Yeah.
Strangest place you've ever visited.
I'm adventurous, but I'm not. I'm just going to say Sao Paulo because it was a crazy town in Brazil.
Okay.
I was lucky enough to go to work.
Describe yourself in 3 words.
Crazy, fun, outgoing.
How do you spend the first 3 hours of your day?
I get up at 4 o'clock every morning. I'm at my kickboxing gym at 4:30, and I'm there for literally 2 hours training every morning.
Really?
Fight training, yeah.
Wow, there you go.
Don't get into
I don't
fight
want
with
to.
him.
I don't want to offend you in any way.
You can't offend me.
Favorite drink?
Usually beer.
Yes.
But I'm off that at the moment, and water. Water's great.
Excellent. Something interesting nobody knows about you. You already said the kickboxing thing, so...
Yeah, look, I love going fast, whether it's driving fast cars. I've got a fast car and a chopper motorcycle. Love to do that in my spare time and go camping with my family.
Would you prefer to be invisible or be able to fly?
Could I take half and half on that one?
No.
Let's go fly. I've got
Okay.
nothing to hide.
Excellent. A mistake that ended up being a success.
Pardon me?
A mistake that was a success.
So I'm not really good at this, am I?
No, it's fine. It's just...
Is it clean? Keep it
I suppose
clean.
I've spin around. It's never giving up. That's what's got me to where I am today.
Yes. What's your biggest non-negotiable?
Respect. Because once you lose it, it's like glass. You can't glue it back together.
Morning or night? Morning.
Morning for sure.
Weapon of choice? It doesn't have to be a sword or a physical weapon. It can be...
My camera.
Hey, see? That's what I would have said.
Johnny can get off some mischief with that.
That's right. Biggest fear?
Probably a shark attack.
You live on the beach.
I know, I don't really go out there that often. I do swim, but yeah.
If you weren't doing what you're doing now, what would you be doing?
Good question.
hot seat.
I told myself that when I gave up photography, and I'm doing box branding now, so that's all I've got.
Excellent. University or School of Hard Knocks?
School of Hard Knocks for sure.
What advice would you give to a 18-year-old you?
Look, you got to start at the bottom.
Yes.
That's how I was always brought up. Nothing's ever given to you in life. You got to go earn it. That's pretty much it.
I remember when we had a restaurant years ago, everyone thought it was fantastic, except at 5:30 in the morning when you're mopping the toilets.
I never thought it was fantastic. Just putting it out there. Never.
Fridays or Mondays?
Mondays always. Oh, look, I like both. I love going to work on a Monday, but I love a Friday as well. That Friday feeling you can't beat.
One item you could never live without?
I'm going to say, my 3-year-old son.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good answer.
Where's ours at the back?
Yes. Cats or dogs?
Still there.
Dogs at the moment, but I'm a cat guy too.
How many keys do you have on your keyring? This is the last question.
I'm going to say 7. Are you going to count me on that?
No.
Yeah, where is your key? That's it. It's an interesting question because I don't have my...
It's over there.
I don't carry keys.
Okay.
Yeah. In the country, if you were to come to the country and find out where we live, you could steal our car because we actually leave our keys in the car.
I'm telling you what.
I love it.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you very much. You did very, very well on the hot seat.
Thank you for having us.
Now we're at the last stage where you basically get to give us a shameless plug of what you have going in your business right now.
Oh, that's easy. Look, if you're after better marketing and better photos, go to boxbrownie.com. And speaking of photos, we can even take those photos for you with photo shoots priced from $69. We've created the Uber of real estate photography, and it's coming to a suburb near you. Boxbrownie.com for further information.
Excellent. Don't drop the mic.
Hell no.
You do that.
And it's really exciting, actually, just going on to that, the Uber of photography.
Look,
That's brilliant.
I think what we're doing is super exciting just because, hey, I started it and I thought one day it's going to get me off taking photos, which it has. I never in my wildest dreams thought we'd have photographers running around Australia-wide, and we're going to take it internationally as well because we're in 75 countries as of today.
So let me just get this right. So the Uber of photography is you have a photographer that comes out to the site, the photographer goes away, then your team edits the photos for them, and within the space of how long do you have a awesome edited photo?
So you'll have your photos back from 24 hours from the time of booking.
Yes.
We could, even though it's a bit late now, see, let's say you can book a photographer same day, 4 hours in advance if you need to, if you're quite urgent, and then you'll have them back the next day, edited. If you're not happy, free changes until you're happy. Of course, we can modify the photo by removing clutter, by adding furniture, etc. It's really just a push button system. It's quite incredible. You pick from our calendar times, you pick when you want it. You're not going off photographer's discretion when they can or cannot get there.
So to find out more information, again, you go to
boxbrownie.com.
or .com.au as well.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Brad. Really appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you for coming down to see us.
Yes.
So,
Is it beer time yet?
It is beer time. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll talk soon again on Hot Seat. Thank you for listening to this episode with Brad. And before you go, I'd ask if you've enjoyed this episode that you subscribe to our podcast, which you can find if you search for The Hot Seat, wherever you listen to podcasts, especially on Spotify and Apple. I also wanted to remind you that The Hot Seat is powered by affordable staff. And if I am 100% honest, we could not put The Hot Seat together without outsourcing components of it. There's a lot of background work that goes into the creating of a podcast, and we couldn't do it without outsourcing it to our overseas team. I record the content, I send it offshore where they handle the video, the audio edits, the website, the podcast distribution, the marketing, so much more. So thank you to our team in the Philippines. Okay, that's it. Thank you again for all of your support for the last 14 episodes as well, or 15 episodes, as well as your support for the previous season of The Hot Seat, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode.